All right, thank you for coming and joining us here on the Star Fox Media Small Business Sit Down. I'm joined today with my guest, Cherise Rivera, aka Lady Ivy, and she also runs a dog grooming. What was the way that you put it? It was recovery.
It's actually rehab. Grooming Rehab.
Dog grooming rehab.
Yes.
And we'll be very excited to hear what that is. What was the name of that business?
Tranquil Trims.
Tranquil Trims.
Yes. Mobile dog grooming.
Mobile dog grooming. That was what I was gonna say, but I was like, you gave me that it's not just mobile dog grooming, it's dog grooming rehabilitation.
Yes.
So I thought that would be an interesting way to put it. So, thank you for sitting down with us today.
Thank you for having me. This is lovely.
Yes. Well, thank you for coming. Let's see. We usually like to start off with kind of like, what's your background? How did you what did you want to do when you grow up? What started this journry?
Oh, do you want the long version?
Well, let's see. We got no.
Well, it's kind of funny because when I was really young, I would say probably about 7 or 8, I wanted to be a nun. That was my goal in life, which was very interesting. And
were you like raised religiously, or like where did that come from?
Yeah, well, it's funny. We were non-denominational. No, not necessarily. It just for some reason just resonated with me at a really young age, and then it just happened to, kind of like subside as I got older and. About 12 when I started my own business at 12.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what did you start at 12?
I was babysitter.
Ah, well, that's a good first job.
Yes.
Like, you get to hang out with kids. You're a kid, they're a kid. It's great.
Exactly. I can give them back.
Yeah.
No, I love kids. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong.
It's like, well, I don't have any kids, so I was like,
I don't either, so that's probably why I can say that. Like
I feel that. No. So you wanted to be a nun, and then you went to babysitter.
Yes.
And was it your idea to start doing the babysitting? Did you come across an opportunity? How did that kind of start?
So I was in martial arts starting at about 11 and 12, and a lot of the parents that would come in would ask me just out of the blue if I did any kind of babysitting or whatnot. And I just thought about it at that point. I was like, you know what? Maybe I could start making just a little bit of money this way. So I went and I took the Red Cross course, made all the steps to, make the name for my business and yeah, I started babysitting, and I did that probably till I was 15 when I could actually get a real job.
Right. But that sounds like, you took it to the next level over other babysitters. You had a name for your business. You took some extra steps, I feel like.
I made cards, yeah.
Wow.
I was making cards.
At 12?
Yeah. Right.
That's an early start, but I guess that probably is an inspiration to how kind of, everything else kind of came from it. I would bet.
Right. Yeah.
So you got to 15. You no longer wanted to babysit. What was the next step in the journey?
So the next step, I was a car hop for Sonic. No, I didn't do the roller skates because no one would be getting their food if that was the case. But I worked for them, became assistant manager really quickly. It was very interesting throughout. From the time I was about 15 to, I would say, all the way up until now when I own my own business, I've always been in a position of either assistant manager or manager. And I don't know. It just followed me.
It's interesting. I wonder how that is. If it's a personality thing, if it's okay. So I've worked also since I was 15 or younger. And I think that there's something about, there's certain people that work well, and there's certain people that try to do everything they can not to work. I almost feel like, you know what I mean? They're there, and their job is to do as little as possible.
Yes.
And I don't know if maybe it's just if that's not you, then all of a sudden you're a step up above everyone else already, and that's why people the managers and the people in charge kind of get a feel for that and give you promotions and doing all. Do you think that was what happened, or?
I don't know. I think I really don't know what it was. I just know that I would always try to just do my best, and somehow it just ended up putting me in these bigger positions. And then at the same time, I was also working with I'm a singer as well, so I'm a local singer. And so I was working with that on the side. So I had my own bands and whatnot since I was about 17. So I was kind of working those. And so I've always had my hands in something.
It sounds like maybe multiple things.
Yes, definitely multiple things. Keep myself busy. Yes.
So you started singing at 17, and like, did you go on do like local tours? Did you go to like bars and sing like at 17? Like, how does that work? How do you even...
Yeah, so, well, I was in Texas at the time. I was in San Antonio. And you can't really go into a bar at 17. They won't let you, even if you're playing in the band.
Makes sense.
There are certain ones that will, but, they'll watch you. But my first show was in a gas station.
Wow.
Yes. But
a gas station.
It was very interesting.
Humble beginnings. I love it.
Yes, humble beginnings. And then it just kind of went on from there. I mean, when I moved to California, I was in a couple different bands. I really haven't done my own touring or anything like that. I make my own music. I write music, but I don't play an instrument, so I can't make the actual music itself. But I've worked with a lot of musicians in which they make the music. And then that's another thing I do on the side now is they'll make the music. They'll send me the music. I make tracks. I do all the backing vocals. I do post-production, pre-production. Cool. I do sound recording and all of that too. So
singer, songwriter, producer.
Yeah. Yes.
Lots of hats again.
Lots of hats. I am the lady of many hats. Yeah. That's what I call myself. Yes.
So you were trying to do all that while you were also still working in supervisory roles, I guess. Yes. And I think that's probably standard when you're starting, right? Most people can't just start off and instantly be making enough money as a musician to just do it full time, right? Oh,
definitely not. Yeah, I mean, well, and I talk about this in the past tense because now it's so different, with the pandemic and everything being closed down. But there was a point in my career in my singing career in which I was just using music just to make money because I was in 3 different groups. I was playing different casinos and, bigger outside parties and private parties, and all that's where it's at. You just have to kind of get in that niche and know where to go. And it's the community here in San Diego is very small, the musician community. So it's kind of who you know, but then it's also, who they know and all of that. So it is, but it's coming right out the gate. No,
really
you
difficult.
don't want to.
I feel like that's a lot of this is actually kind of comes back to like what we do as a company. So Star Fox Media, we do marketing for small businesses, and one of the reasons we started the company was there's a lot of people who are very talented at what they do, like at you could be a very talented singer, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be a talented business person. And so all of those things that get wrapped around the actual service that you provide, those things not everyone's very good at. So it's like, I could imagine that as a singer, there's plenty of musicians out there that are very talented, but they do not know how to market themselves. They don't know how to create those connections. They don't it's the who you don't start off knowing anyone, right? Like you moved here from a different state. Like you didn't know anyone, right?
Right.
So like there had to have been a process where you got to know everyone.
Right.
So the who is actually a skill as well. Like
exactly.
it's a thing that you gain. And so I think that's a very interesting thing. So like how long did that take you to kind of feel like, you established yourself enough to where you could, do it full time?
I would say about 2 or 3 years worth. And that was, back then it was Craigslist. So, that was the platform. So, you put yourself out there and then you have kind of a demo disc, demo CD, and, we had MySpace and all that. So, you put those random. So you you have those demos, you put your ad out there, you have people that answer, and then you just, go to each one, audition and whatnot. And, as you play with those different groups, then sometimes you're in the same place playing with a different group that'll hear you, and it kind of builds from there. But it also has to do a lot with, people skills and being able to, kind of market yourself, but then also not coming across as a complete diva.
Right. Interesting.
It's a balance. I think it's a balance with anything, at any job, any position. It's just a balance.
Do you think that, having the kind of entrepreneurial spirit, started being a babysitter at 12, making business cards, doing all that, like, do you think all that is like kind of helped you do that a little quicker? Like, because you kind of had that entrepreneurial spirit, that businessy background that allowed you to like kind of meet those people and kind of know like what platforms to use or like give you the drive to look at them? Like,
I think so. I think, me just doing that. Of course, my mom was always really, supportive of me and kind of pushed me to do it, because I think what also pushed me as well was that, I was not part of a family that could like pay for college for me. So I never went to college. I graduated high school, but I didn't go to college. So I knew I would probably be better off getting certified in a lot of things. So it kind of pushed me to look at all these different directions that I could go. So first starting with the babysitting, then, doing all of these other assistant manager positions. So I worked in a video game shop. I worked in a theater. I did like production and all of that for the movies, and I played every role basically. But just being in those managerial positions, I got to see everything from the accounting to learning how to do, all of these different things to run my own. And so, like I'm a certified bartender too. So I kind of went that direction for a little bit. And then I became, certified in the dog grooming, which oddly just fell in my lap. I just became certified in a lot of things. So I think all of that time that I spent in those positions and slowly building upon everything that I was learning, kind of in a roundabout way, made me go, I could probably start my own business and do my own thing.
I think that there's probably a skill in there, like a talent. Maybe it's something that you learn. It could be learned. I don't know if it's inherent, but like being able to learn something and then apply it to other things. I don't know if that's like, I don't know what that's called, like if there's a name for it, but like, where you learn something from one business and you're able to then use it in a completely different industry or a different business. Like, I don't know if everyone has that. Like if it's common to like, where you do one thing and then you start a new thing and you get to take all the skills that you learned, all of the information, and apply it correctly.
In a different way. I don't know. I would think that most entrepreneurs, most people that, have their own businesses have that, at least the ones that I've met, have that type of thought process where maybe they sponge that kind of stuff, all that information up, and then, I can apply it, because I find myself doing that every day, just small, I can apply that to this. I can apply that to that, or looking at different things differently than most. Maybe that's what makes people an entrepreneur. Like maybe that's like that spark, that like makes it so someone is able to be a successful business owner. Yeah, maybe so. I mean, maybe, yeah.
Because I'm thinking like, because if you're starting your own business for the first time, you can't have any experience in it, right? Like by definition, your first business is your first business. Right. So for that to have any chances of success, you have to have taken things that you've known from not your business,
right,
and apply it.
Sometimes I mean, I think it's a building block too, because like for instance, I've worked eBay for quite a while, and that was a different direction than just babysitting. So me and my brother, when we were younger, we were big into Pokemon cards.
Oh yeah,
this was our thing. And so we would buy, sell, and trade stuff. Even my mom was in it too. So we had a whole thing on eBay that we'd buy, sell, and trade this stuff. So even that was teaching me how to deal with customers and, the whole payment process and keeping accounting and all of that. So I had kind of these things that would, do this kind of steps to bigger and bigger and bigger. And then working bands and managing the bands that I had, you're talking to bar owners, you're talking to casino, talent agents, you're talking to all these people, and you have to deal with each one a different way.
Yeah.
And it's just, even the accounting is different on that than it is on any of this. So all of that just kind of, I think, played into where I am now with my own business that I'm running with my dog grooming.
I had a first edition Charizard when I was a kid.
Oh my God. You say you had, so
I have no idea where it is. I have no idea where these cards are. I mean, okay, but I actually played with the cards and stuff too. Like I did all the little like, where you like the little tournaments and stuff. So I'm sure that these cards were all scratched up and like, like completely not worth anything anymore. But at one point, I had a fortune in my hand.
Oh, so. I played it too though. I did the tournaments.
Were you good about like actually like keeping them in the little card sleeves and stuff like that?
Not for my decks. Yeah. No. I
it was
had
so hard
to
play with the decks in the card. Yes. They're all slidey and stuff.
Slippery and just
Stack up your 50 cards or something you get in a deck, and it's like you try to stack them up with those little sleeves and they just slide off each other, like slide off onto the floor. I don't know. I have
good times.
Weird memories of that. So, okay, but I digress. So, like, being in a band like that and doing these performances, that you've been doing that since you were like 17, right?
Yes.
So, sometime during that, you decided, it's time to start my own business.
Well, in between that time, I was also working as a dog groomer for different shops. So I started in the shop world.
Great.
I worked for Petco. I worked for a local, few local companies for their shops, like one in Hillcrest, and then I moved to one that was mobile, and just really fell in love with the whole mobile idea.
Yeah.
I had my own mobile business where I would go and pick up dogs and bring them back to my place where I lived at and just kind of do them there. But it still didn't have the same feel as when I actually saw like a mobile van and was like, oh my gosh, there's a way to like really do this and upgrade what I already had. So once I went that direction, then I said, oh, well, it'd be really cool to just have my own van instead of my car.
Right. So basically you like had the band, you were working at like, in-house groomers, and then you kind of started a side gig where you just pick up the dogs and do them at home.
Well, I had that for quite a while.
And you do those at the same time, like while you were actually doing the grooming at like a PetSmart or something like that, Petco, you'd still do your own at home as well.
Right. I always had my own. Yeah. I had my own dog grooming since, let's see, when I was 22, 23. Yeah. So
did that come before the like Petco and stuff, or was that?
Yeah, it did.
Wow.
It actually. So when I first moved here, I worked for a lady with dog daycare, and so I would drive the van to go pick up the dogs. Yeah.
Love it.
I would drive the van to go pick up the dogs, bring them back for the day, and the person that she had working as the groomer just kept being really flaky. She wouldn't show up and whatnot, and so my boss would continue to complain to me about it. And I said, hey, why don't you just let me go take a course and let me just try it,
Yeah.
And she said, sure, go ahead, and I'll give you a job when you come back. And I'm like, great, awesome. So I went, took the 6-week course. I drove from here to Tahunga every day, 6 days a week.
I know that's far because I have no idea what it is. That's when you know it's far. I've never even heard of that.
It's a city way past the 215. Let's just put it that way.
Wow.
Yeah, it's way up there. So I drove that for almost 3 months, 6 days a week. Came back, she gave the job to somebody else. And I was like, no.
Rough.
So I said, hey, I spent all this money to do this, because it's not cheap.
No.
To go,
I mean, even the gas to do that would have been expensive.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
My car does not get great gas mileage, so
right.
I'm like panicking a little.
So I'm like, you know what? Let me just start my own business. And I can do this. I mean, I might as well. So that's what actually made me fall into dog grooming. I never really sat down one day and said, hey, I want to be a dog groomer.
Right.
And then when I started working with the dogs just on my own, I started to kind of, realize that there were different things that I could do to make these certain dogs feel better. Because for some reason, I was always getting the dogs that kind of had the issues with, like, don't touch my feet, or I'm going to bite your head off if you touch my neck in that way or something, So I just started to kind of work with them, and it just kind of came to me. And I started the whole dog grooming rehab idea.
So basically, like you'll take the animals that have a hard time going to other groomers, and like if they don't do well, and then like help them out and make them happy.
Yes, a lot of my clients, a lot of the dogs that I have been told by many of the bigger companies or other shops that they are impossible, which they are not.
Yeah.
It just takes a little bit of patience and time, and dogs
more than like a Petco is willing to give them.
Yes, definitely. It's a lot about how quickly you can do those dogs there.
Right.
Whereas in what I do, it's more about not only taking your time, but consistency. Dogs seem to work a lot with consistency, and even if they're afraid of something, if you continue to do it and they keep seeing, oh, I don't die with this, I actually survive.
I don't have to be terrified.
Exactly. They start to create that memory of it being okay instead of the that they have if somebody snips a nail wrong, even or cuts them or something along those lines. So that's where I come in is to make them feel better, and I've actually been pretty successful with a lot of the dogs that I have to
great.
Stop them from being scared. Yeah.
Well, I mean, all animals need love.
Yes, that's all it takes.
So
yes,
it's good that someone's there for them.
Yes, they're all sweeties. I love all of my little doggies.
So currently, you're still in the band. Or you still are producing music and creating it, and I guess not really doing many performances right now, right?
Right. Yeah. No. I'm I've been in all kinds of different bands. My most recent band, One Hot Mess, we're out of Orange County, and so we play 80s. It's a mixture of 80s and top 40 dance and stuff like that. So no, we haven't been able to play out. We have a show coming up in March, but it's kind of iffy just because of the way things are right now. Yeah. But yes, I still have a group, and then I do things like I said on my own. I'll create tracks and do backing vocals, put stuff out online.
It sounds like it would work pretty well time-wise with something like the mobile groomer, because it's daytime versus nighttime. A lot of times people are performing later. Is that like one of the reasons why it works so well together? You're able to do both so easily?
Well, the way that I do it, now that I have my own business, I'm able to do my own scheduling, and I'm able to, because most of the performances are in the evenings or on the weekends, so I can just kind of work everything around it so I can be where I need to be, because most of them are up, closer to like LA areas, so I have to make
and so drive. Even if they are in the evening, it's still a commitment, because you definitely don't want to drive up to LA at 5.
Yes,
so
right.
I mean, that's
exactly.
So I mean, that's like half a day just to get there.
Yeah, that's a rough drive.
Yeah, and I'm sure that you have to do it all the time. So that's a.
Yes, I used to. Yes, but yes, right now everything is quiet, so I'm able to focus more on the music and stuff that I'm putting out just online, and then my dog grooming. Yes.
Yeah. So, like, if someone wanted to, well, I guess we'll start with music, because that came first. If you have any like recommendations or any tips or anything for someone who is a musician who's trying to, I don't want to say like get their break, because that's like so cliche and I hate it, but like trying to do it for a living, I guess, like trying to actually,
trying to make it
do it full time, make it their thing.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think just in my own experience, and it's all about getting yourself out there as much as possible. For me, it was playing with as many different groups as I possibly can, only because you're going to reach so many different people. You don't know who you're going to meet, basically.
Right.
And a lot of these seasoned musicians, local musicians, they know people. And so if you do a good job and they continually work with you, there's different avenues that can come that way. But, the social media stuff, Instagram, even TikTok now, have your own website. I know, have your own website. Even if it's something small, just having something out there so that you're always out there and being seen. Especially now that everything's kind of gone online, I think even putting blips of, if you teach music too. That's another thing. You know, you can put all of your stuff online. Wow, that's random too. Okay. Just these random things today.
Yeah.
So yeah, just making sure that just always having an outlet for oneself, I think, so that there's always a way for someone to contact you and see what you do.
That makes sense. I mean, like as a marketer, like I always recommend like you give your customers as many ways to find you as you can, right? So if like, your customers are on social media, be on social media.
Yes.
If they're going to search for you on the internet, make sure you got a website.
Exactly.
And, if it's all word of mouth, then meet a lot of people. So, I mean, I guess that kind of applies to music as well.
Yes, definitely. Yes. And having those sound bites out there of yourself. And, it's kind of like you just have to put it out there and not really worry about, because there's so many different avenues that it could come from. I mean, you can even like look into different things that maybe you didn't think would have, would want like a sound bit of you or something along those lines, and see if maybe, just throw it out there, just do it. And maybe you get something that way. That's kind of the other way I've gotten certain things thrown at me, was just, hey, maybe I'll try this.
Yeah.
And
so having the, like, I guess the openness to try new things and just to
not expecting.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I mean, I guess like as a musician, like, your music is your portfolio.
Yes.
It's the product, but it's also like, you are the, I mean, it's kind of like the music's the product, but so are you, I guess. Right. Like,
right.
So I mean, like you're going to make more music in the future. So if you're trying to get signed or something, it's not just your music you've made, but like, you yourself.
Right.
I guess.
Right.
And I guess it's the same idea if you're trying to play gigs, is like, it's not only like how good is your music, which is also probably very important, but like, are you a dick? Do people hate you?
Yeah, I'll tell you, that's made decisions for me for sure in the past when I've managed. But I think it's also not kind of holding yourself to just one thing, because depending on what aspect of music there's so many different branches of it. You can be background singer, studio musician, you can work in this back scenes with just talent itself. You can audition for things like Cirque du Soleil and go that direction, and but all of them just have the same thing that they ask for, which is sound bites, video of yourself. So I think it's just having all of that in one area and then spam it out.
Yeah. And, I mean, that's actually probably, I mean, out of everything, like, I mean, if people are a little bit more, if they're rigid, right? It's like, I want to be a star, and all I want to do is be the lead, or all I want to do is do this. All I want to do is that. Well, I guess they're missing out on opportunities, right? And those are the opportunities that could have gotten them there in the future.
Exactly. Like, I mean, I did want to be a star. I still do. I think it'd be great.
Oh, you still would,
but I think it would be awesome to be up there and like sing next to Ariana Grande. I mean, come on, that's she's hot.
Yeah, I get it.
There's certain things, yes, that you have to do in order to get to those right places, and you just never know. Like you said, opportunities. You just never know what. If it is an opportunity or not. So just do it.
Yeah.
I mean, unless it's like unless it's just a really bad gig.
Right. One where it's going to take away from like your brand or something like that. Where
you're in like a basement of a house and you're playing to the cats or something like that. You're not going to go. Yeah.
Maybe this isn't quite my audience.
There.
This isn't the audience I was looking for.
Right. But yeah, always leaving yourself open for anything. Mm-hmm.
It's awesome. And when did you transfer, like, transition from being, like where you got your own van, you actually like upgraded and decided you're, doing your own mobile grooming, like as your, like, when would you make that transition? Where did you grow it? Like, when did that happen?
So yeah, I moved out here in 2006, early 2007. Mm-hmm. So I just did my car at that time for it. Or I guess I went through the certification program first. So in about 2008, I was just using my car. And then in 2017, because I was focused on all these other things, and I was working, for different people and all that throughout that time. And in 2017, and when I acquired the van, I just kind of was just letting it flow. I didn't really want to push it too much just yet, because I was doing all of these other things and I had all these other, expectations and stuff on my table that I had to finish up. And so I just kind of let it grow from there. But it wasn't until about October or so of 2017 that I ended up having to really push forward with it, because some of these other things on my plate had fallen off, which required me to put more focus into this new business that was kind of just floating along. Yeah. And now it was requiring me to.
Right. It's like, okay, now you have to do this to live.
Yeah. So it's like it's kind of cool to start a small business that way, where you're just kind of letting it flow and there's no pressure. But then again, when that pressure finally hits, then maybe it puts a fire under everything, you know?
It's like your side gig until like all of a sudden it hits that time where it's like, now it's the gig.
Yeah, you're
the
forced.
main
Yeah.
gig.
So yeah, and then from there it just kind of took off. I only did one thing of advertising, and it was through a company up in Valley Center. But everything else has just been through word of mouth, and I'm blessed to say that I'm booked. Booked.
It sounds like you're doing great on that stuff.
Thank you. Yes, it's crazy busy right now.
And so like on the other side, for we talked about being a musician, but like if you were going to someone who wanted to start their own business, and like what kind of advice would you give someone like that?
So depending on, what kind of business that they're wanting to start, I would say definitely do a lot of research. Specifically if there's so many different avenues to it. Do your research on how everybody else has started that group or that type of business. If you're going to do employees or not, check on that. Check on laws. That is super important. Check on all of this stuff before you do, and then look into, because every business that starts out, your first year is always going to be a loss. So you're definitely not only going to want to do all this research, but you're going to want to have a pillow too to fall back on. Yeah. Because you are going to have that loss throughout the first year. So, check into what you want. I would say, depending on what it is, don't scrimp for the cheap stuff. When you're getting all your product and all this stuff, don't go cheap, because it's going to make your product better if you just stay with the higher end items. Whether it's microphones or instruments or anything. Grooming vans, exactly. But although there is only one company in the United States that I know of that actually makes these conversion vans, and they're out of Indiana. They're called Wagon Tails, and I have not found
adorable.
Any. Well, actually, you'd laugh at me because I almost bought this van that was a blue dog. I swear. Like, what was that movie, Dumb and Dumber?
Yeah.
I almost bought one out of Florida. I really did when I first started this. But then this place came along and I was like, oh, maybe I should be normal. But yes, there's only one place and they're in Indiana. So this is the kind of thing that, you have to look up all of this stuff and compare. And there's a lot that goes into starting your own business. So if you're serious about it, I say, like, you got to hunker down and you got to do it, because it takes a
Do you recommend starting kind of like as a side gig and learning the ropes first? Or do you think it's like one of those things where it's more important to save up that pillow and, make sure that you can invest fully into it?
I would say, like for instance, hairdressing, listen to me, hairdresser, haircuts, all of that. I would say, go out and find that position. See what it's like to do it. Talk to the managers, kind of see, let them know, hey, I'm looking to start my own business. That's why I'm here, blah, blah, blah. Talk to people, and then work there as long as you have to put away that money. Yeah. To start, maybe you want to get your own place and have your own salon. Definitely. If you're, I'm on the edge about the whole credit card thing. Like, if you start on just credit cards, I did, but then I also had kind of a pillow too a little bit of one at the same time. So I would say mix it up a little bit. Don't just put all your eggs in one basket as far as the monetary side goes. But get the experience in the field you want find out how it works and see if that's what you want to do and how much it takes, because there may be some things, you know, that they know as business owners that you didn't. So just getting all that information.
I mean, it would be tragic if you put all this effort into a business and found out you hate it.
Yes, exactly. So go out and experience it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what's the future for the groomer? What's the future for the music? What's the next steps? Where's Cherise gonna be in the next few years?
Well, for Tranquil Trims, I would love to expand my business. Maybe even make it to the point where I have people working for me, and I can kind of step back and do more of a managerial position. I don't want to get super big with it,
Right.
but I would like to at least give different options to more people locally, because
Have a couple vans.
yeah, exactly. Yes. But it's, you know, I'm super picky about who would work for me, only because this is the niche that it is, and that the person has to be a particular type of person to work with dogs that may have issues and whatnot.
Right. I mean, yeah, because you did establish yourself as the person who can work with the problem children.
Yes, exactly. So I'd like to see it expand. That's definitely where I'd like to go with it. The music side of things, I'm hoping that things open up soon a little bit more.
I think we all are.
Yeah, I know. Yes, I think I speak for all of everyone when I say I hope things open up soon. At least to the point where we can play out, maybe even outside would be great.
Outside.
Yeah. I would like to continue to work on my own group and just see that continue to flourish, and maybe somewhere in there I'll get a call for background singer for maybe an older group or something.
Get
like
some
that.
gigs.
Doesn't have to.
Yeah.
I'm not expecting anything. That's kind of a shaky career just in itself. You get a lot of no's.
Right. Yeah, you have to have like a little bit of thick skin for that.
Exactly. It's just like in the theater and the acting business. You get a lot of no's before you get a lot of yeses. So
it's fair.
Yeah.
So if someone wanted to try to find the you as a musician, Lady Ivy,
yes.
How would they find you online? How would they listen to your music? How would they find you?
So you can go on my website. It's ladyivymusic.com. And then I have an Instagram as well. It's just Lady Ivy Music. You can also, I have a YouTube page as well. I make, on the YouTube page, I have songs that I've done, but they're sort of like a memorial and dedication videos to others. So like, for instance, if somebody came to me and said, oh, I want you to make a dedication video to my mom or something like that, and then they would send me a whole bunch of pictures, and then I'd put this thing together, do the whole thing, and mix it down, do the song for them. And so that's what they'll find on my YouTube page. That's also Lady Ivy Music there as well. I have a TikTok. That one's not being used as much, but so that's for the music side of things. They can find me on there.
Yeah.
For the dog grooming, it's TranquilTrims.com. I'm kind of shut down right now just because of the stay-at-home order, but we're kind of working things out as there's new rules that are coming out. So we'll probably be open in January. But they can go there. I also have an Instagram page as well as Tranquil Trims. They can find me on there. If they go to the website, they'll be able to read all about what dog grooming rehab is.
Yes.
And find out all about that.
And if they need it.
Exactly. Yes. Well, even if they don't, I still take normal grooms too. So
I'm only get you like problem children.
Well, when I first started, kind of, but it's okay. They're all normal now.
Yeah, that's true. You work with them long term, and they start as problem children, and now they're just perfect angels.
Yeah, well, what some of them are, and some of them still get a little tweaky about things, but they're good.
Well, thank you so much for coming down and taking the time to sit down with us today and tell us about your business. And if for everyone who's watching, make sure to check out if you're looking for a groomer. There's no one better. So.
Well, thank you for having me. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you, guys. This has been fun.
Thanks.